of Egypt, hail!
How much unlike art thou, Mark Antony! Yet coming from him, that great medicine hath with his tinct gilded thee. How goes it with my brave Mark Antony?
Last thing he did, dear Queen, he kissed, the last of many doubled kisses, this orient pearl. His speech sticks in my heart.
Mine ear must pluck it thence.
A good friend, quoth he, say the firm Roman to great Egypt sends this treasure of an oyster, at whose foot, to mend the petty present, I will piece her opulent throne with kingdoms. All the East, say thou, shall call her mistress. So he nodded, and soberly did mount an arm-gaunt steed, who neighed so high that what I would have spoke was beastly dumbed by him.
What? Was he sad or merry?
Like to the time of year between the extremes of hot and cold, he was nor sad nor merry.
Oh, well divided disposition. Note him, good Charmian, 'tis the man, but note him. He was not sad, for he would shine on those that make their looks by his. He was not merry, which seemed to tell them his remembrance lay in Egypt with his joy, but between both. Oh, heavenly mingle, beest thou sad or merry, the violence of either thee becomes, so does it no man else. Met'st thou my posts?
Aye, madam, 20 several messengers. Why do you send so thick?
Who is born that day when I forget to send to Antony shall die a beggar. Ink and paper, Charmian. Welcome, my good Alexis. Did I, Charmian, ever love Caesar so?
Oh, that brave Caesar.
He choked with such another emphasis. Say the brave Antony.
The valiant Caesar.
By Isis, I will give thee bloody teeth if thou with Caesar Paragon again, my man of men.
By your most gracious pardon, I sing but after you.
Oh, my salad days. When I was green in judgment, cold in blood, to say as I said then. But come, away. Get me ink and paper. He shall have every day a several greeting, or I'll unpeople Egypt.
Indeed. They ne'er cared for us yet. Suffer us to famish, and their storehouses crammed with grain. Make edicts for usury to support usurers, repeal daily any wholesome act established against the rich, and provide more piercing statutes daily to chain up and restrain the poor. If the wars eat us not up, they will, and there's all the love they bear us.
Either you must confess yourselves wondrous malicious, or be accused of folly. I shall tell you a pretty tale. It may be you've heard it, but since it serves my purpose, I'll venture to stilt a little more.
Well, I'll hear it, sir, yet you must not think to fob off our disgrace with a tale. But an it please you, deliver.
There was a time when all the body's members rebelled against the belly. Thus accused it, that only like a gulf it did remain in the midst of the body, idle and inactive, still coveting the viand, never bearing like labor with the rest, where the other instruments did see and hear, devise, instruct, walk, feel, and mutually participate, did minister unto the appetites and affection common of the whole body. The belly answered.
Well, sir, what answer made the belly?
Sir, I shall tell you, with a kind of smile, which ne'er came from the lungs, but even thus, for look you, I may make the belly smile as well as speak. It tauntingly replied to the discontented members, the mutinous parts that envied his receipt, even so most fitly, as you malign our senators, for that they are not such as you.
Your belly's answer, what?
Your most grave belly was deliberate, not rash like his accusers, and thus answered, True is it, mine corporate friends, quoth he, that I receive the general food at first, that you do live upon, and fit it is, because I am the storehouse and the shop of the whole body. But if you do remember, I send it through the rivers of your blood, even to the court, the heart, to the seat of the brain, and through the cranks and offices of man, the strongest nerves and small inferior veins, from me receive that natural competency whereby they live. And though that all at once, you, my good friends, this said the belly, mark me.
Why, sir, well, well.
Though all at once cannot see what I do deliver out to each, yet I can make my audit up that all from me do back receive the flower of all, and leave me but the bran. What say ye to't?
It was an answer. How apply you this?
The senators of Rome, this good belly, and you, the mutinous members, for examine their counsels and their cares, digestings rightly touching the weal of the common, you shall find no public benefit that you receive, but it proceeds or comes from them to you.
O melancholy, whoever yet could sound thy bottom, find the ooze to show what coast thy sluggish prayer mightst easiliest harbour. How found you him?
It's dark as you see, thus smiling as some fly had tickled slumber, not as death's dart being laughed at, his right cheek reposing on a cushion.
Where?
On the floor. His arms thus leagued. I thought he slept, and put my clouted brogues from off my feet, whose rudeness answered my steps too loud.
Why, he but sleeps. If he be gone, he'll make his grave a bed.
Fear no more the heat of the sun, nor the furious winter's rages. Thou thy worldly task hast done, home art gone, and ta'en thy wages. Colder lads and girls, all must as chimney sweepers come to dust. Fear no more the frown of the great, thou art past the tyrant's stroke. Care no more to clothe and eat, to thee the reed is as the oak. The scepter learning, physic must all follow this, and come to dust. Fear no more the lightning flood, your dreaded thunderstone, not slander censure thou hast finished joy and moan. All lovers young, all lovers must consign to thee and come to dust.
No exercise harm thee.
Nor no witchcraft charm thee.
Ghost unlaid, forbear thee. Nothing ill come near thee. Quiet consummation have, and renowned
to be or not to be? That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them, to die, to sleep, no more, and by a sleep to say we end the heartache and the 1,000 natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished. To die, to sleep, perchance to dream. Aye, there's the rub. For in that sleep of death, what dreams may come, when we have shuffled off this mortal coil, must give us pause. There's the respect that makes calamity of so long life. For who would bear the whips and scorns of time, the oppressor's wrong, the proud man's contumely, the pangs of despised love, the law's delay, the insolence of office, and the spurns that patient merit of the unworthy takes, when he himself might his quietus make with a bare bodkin? Who would fardels bear to grunt and sweat under a weary life, but that the dread of something after death, the undiscovered country from whose bourne no traveller returns, puzzles the will and makes us rather bear those ills we have than fly to others that we know not of. Thus, conscience doth make cowards of us all, and thus the native hue of resolution is sicklied o'er with the pale cast of thought, and enterprises of great pith and moment with this regard, their currents turn awry and lose the name of action.
Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears! I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. The evil that men do lives after them. The good is oft interred with their bones. So let it be with Caesar. The noble Brutus hath told you Caesar was ambitious. If it was so, it was a grievous fault, and grievously hath Caesar answered it. Here under leave of Brutus and the rest, for Brutus is an honorable man. So are they all honorable men. Come I to speak in Caesar's funeral. He was my friend, faithful and just to me. But Brutus says he was ambitious, and Brutus is an honorable man. He hath brought many captives home to Rome, whose ransoms did the general coffers fill. Did this in Caesar seem ambitious? When did the poor have cried, Caesar hath wept? Ambition should be made of sterner stuff. Yet Brutus says he was ambitious, and Brutus is an honorable man. You all did see that on the Lupercal I thrice presented him a kingly crown, which he did thrice refuse. Was this ambition? Yet Brutus says he was ambitious, and sure he is an honorable man. I speak not to disprove what Brutus spoke, but here I am to speak what I do know. You all did love him once, not without cause. What cause withholds you then to mourn for him? O judgment, thou art led to brutish beasts, and men have lost their reason. Bear with me. My heart is in the coffin there with Caesar, and I must pause till it come back to me.
Methinks there is much reason in his saying.
If thou consider rightly of the matter, Caesar has had great wrong.
Has he, masters? I fear there will a worse come in his place.
Mark ye his words. He would not take the crown. Therefore, 'tis certain he was not ambitious.
If it be found so, some will dare abide it.
There's not a nobler man in Rome than Antony.
Now mark him. He begins again to speak.
Poor soul, his eyes are red as fire with weeping.
But yesterday the word of Caesar might have stood against the world. Now lies he there, and none so poor to do him reverence. Oh, masters, if I were disposed to stir your hearts and minds to mutiny and rage, I should do Brutus wrong and Cassius wrong, who you all know are honorable men. I will not do them wrong. I rather choose to wrong the dead, to wrong myself and you, than I will wrong such honorable men. But here's the parchment. With the seal of Caesar, I found it in his closet. 'Tis his will. Let but the commons hear this testament, which, pardon me, I do not mean to read. And they would go and kiss dead Caesar's wounds, and dip their napkins in his sacred blood. Yea, beg a hair of him for memory, and dying mention it within their wills, bequeathing it as a rich legacy unto their issue.
We'll hear the will. Read it, Mark Antony.
We will hear Caesar's will.
Patience, gentle friends, I must not read it. It is not meet, you know, how Caesar loved you. You are not wood, you are not stones, but men. And being men, hearing the will of Caesar, it will inflame you, it will make you mad. 'Tis good you know not that you are his heirs, for if you should, oh, what would come of it?
Read the will! We'll hear it, Antony! You shall read us the will! Caesar's will!
Will you be patient? Will you stay a while? I have o'ershot myself to tell you of it. I fear I wrong the honorable men whose daggers have stabbed Caesar.
They were traitors, honorable men!
Villains! Murderers!
The will!
You will compel me then to read the will. Then make a ring around the corpse of Caesar and let me show you him that made the will. Shall I descend, and will you give me leave?
Blow, winds, and crack your cheeks. Rage, blow. You cataracts and hurricanes, spout till you have drenched our steeples, drowned the cocks. You sulphurous and thought-executing fires, vaunt couriers of oak-cleaving thunderbolts, singe my white head. And thou, all shaking thunder, strike flat the thick rotundity of the world. Crack nature's molds, all germins spill at once that make ingrateful men.
Caught holy water in a dry house is better than this rainwater out the door. Good nuncle, in! Ask thy daughter's blessing. Here's a night pities neither wise men nor fools.
Rumble thy belly full,
Spit fire, spout rain. Nor rain, wind, thunder, fire are my daughters. I tax not you, you elements, with unkindness. I never gave you kingdom, called you children. You owe me no subscription. Then let fall your horrible pleasure. Here I stand, your slave, a poor, infirm, weak, and despised old man. But yet I call you servile ministers that will with two pernicious daughters join your high-engendered battles gainst a head so old and white as this. Oh, 'tis foul!
He that hath a house to put head in has a good headpiece. The codpiece that will hound before the head has any, the head and he shall loud. So beggars marry many. The man that makes his dough what he his heart should make shall of the corn cry woe and turn his sleep to wake. For there was never yet fair woman, but she made mouths enough to laugh.
Is this a dagger which I see before me? The handle toward my hand. Come, let me clutch thee. I have thee not, and yet I see thee still. Art thou not fatal vision, sensible to feeling as to sight? Or art thou but a dagger of the mind, a false creation proceeding from the heat oppressed brain? I see thee yet, in form as palpable as this which now I draw. Thou marshallest me the way that I was going, and such an instrument I was to use. Mine eyes are made the fools of the other senses. Or else, worth all the rest. I see thee still, and on thy blade and dungeon gouts of blood, which was not so before. There's no such thing. It is the bloody business which informs us to mine eyes. Now o'er the one half-world nature seems dead, and wicked dreams abuse the curtained sleep. Witchcraft celebrates pale Hecate's offerings, and withered murder, alarmed by his sentinel, the wolf, whose howls his watch, thus, with his stealthy pace, with Tarquin's ravishing stride, toward his design, moves like a ghost. Thou sure and firm set earth, hear not my steps, which way they walk, for fear the very stones prate of my whereabout, and take the present horror from the time which now suits with it. Whiles I thread, he lives. I go, and it is done. The bell invites me. Hear it not, Duncan, for it is a knell that summons thee to heaven.
or to hell.
It is the cause. It is the cause, my soul. Let me not name it to you, you chaste stars. It is the cause. Yet I'll not shed her blood, nor scar that whiter skin of hers than snow, and smooth as monumental alabaster. Yet she must die, and she'll betray more men. Put out the light, and then put out the light. If I quench thee, thou flaming minister, I can again thy former light restore, should I repent me. But once put out thy light, thou cunningst pattern of excelling nature, I know not where is that Promethean heat that can thy light relume. When I have plucked the rose, I cannot give it vital growth again. It needs must wither. I'll smell it on the tree. O balmy breath, that dost almost persuade justice to break her sword. Once more. Once more. Be thus when thou art dead, and I will kill thee and love thee after. Once more. And this the last. So sweet, was ne'er so fatal. I must weep, but they are cruel tears. This sorrow's heavenly, it strikes where it doth love. She waits.
He jests at scars that never felt a wound. So, what light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon, who is already sick and pale with grief that thou, her maid, art far more fair than she. Be not her maid, since she is envious. Her vestal livery is but sick and green, and none but fools do wear it. Cast it off. It is my lady. Oh, it is my love. Oh, that she knew she were. She speaks, yet she says nothing. What of that her eye discourses? I will answer it. I am too bold, 'tis not to me she speaks. Two of the fairest stars in all the heaven, having some business, do entreat her eyes to twinkle in their spheres till they return. What if her eyes were there, they in her head? The brightness of her cheek would shame those stars as daylight doth a lamp. Her eyes in heaven would through the airy region stream so bright that birds would sing and think it were not night. See how she leans her cheek upon her hand. Oh, that I were a glove upon that hand, that I might touch that cheek.
Ah, me.
She speaks. Oh, speak again, bright angel, for thou art as glorious to this night being o'er my head, as is a winged messenger of heaven unto the white upturned wondering eyes of mortals that fall back to gaze on him when he bestrides the lazy puffing clouds and sails upon the bosom of the air.
Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? Deny thy father and refuse thy name, or if thou wilt not, be but sworn my love, and I'll no longer be a Capulet.
Shall I hear more? Shall I speak at this?
Is but thy name that is my enemy? Thou art thyself, though not a Montague. What's Montacute is no hand, no foot, no arm, no face, no any other part belonging to a man who be some other name. What's in a name? That which we call a rose by any other word would smell as sweet. So Romeo would, were he not Romeo, called retain that dear perfection which he owes without that title. Romeo, doff thy name, and for thy name, which is no part of thee, take all myself.
Let me look back upon thee, O thou wall that girdlest the no slaves. Die in the earth, and thence not Athens. Matrons, turn incontinent. Obedience fail in children. Fools and slaves, pluck the grave wrinkled senators from the bench, and minister in their steads. To general filths, convert all the instant green virginity. Do it in your parents' eyes. Bankrupts, hold fast, rather than render back out with your knives and cut your trusters' throats. Bondservants, steal. For large-handed robbers your grave masters are, and pill by law. Maid, to thy master's bed. Thy mistresses owe the brothel. Son of 16, pluck the lined crutch from thine old limping sire, and with it beat out his brains. Piety and fear, religion to the gods, peace, justice, truth, domestic awe, night rest, neighborhood, instructions, manners, mysteries, trades, decrees, observances, customs, and laws. Decline to your confounded contraries, and let confusion live. Plagues, incident to men, your potent and infectious fevers heap on Athens ripe for stroke. Thou cold sciatica, cripple our senators, that their limbs may limp as lamely as their manners. Lust and liberty, creep into the minds and marrows of our youth, that against the tide of virtue they may strive, and drown in riot. Itches and blains infect all the Athenian bosoms, that the crop may be general leprosy. Breath, infect breath, that their society, like their friendships, may be merely poison. Nothing will I take from thee, O thou detestable city, but nakedness. Take that, thou too, with multiplying bands. Timon will to the woods, where he will find the unkindest beast, more kinder than mankind. Oh, confound ye gods! Hear me, ye good gods all, the Athenians both within and out that wall, and grant as Timon grows, his hate may grow to the whole race of mankind, both high and low. Amen.
Welcome, my gracious lord. Welcome, dread queen. Welcome, ye warlike Goths. Welcome, Lucius. And welcome all. Although the cheer be poor, 'twill fill your stomachs. Please you eat of it.
Why art thou thus attired, Andronicus?
Because I would be sure to have all well to entertain your highness and your empress.
We are beholden to you, good Andronicus.
If your highness knew my heart, you were.
My lord the Emperor, resolve me this. Was it well done of rash Virginius to slay his daughter with his own right hand because she was enforced, stained, and deflowered?
It was, Andronicus.
Your reason, mighty lord.
Because the girl should not survive her shame, and by her presence still renew his sorrows.
A reason mighty, strong, and effectual. A pattern precedent and lively warrant for me most wretched to perform the like.
Die, die, Lavinia, and thy shame with thee.
What hast thou done? Unnatural and unkind.
Killed her, for whom my tears have made me blind. I am as woeful as Virginius was, and have 1,000 times more cause than he to do this outrage, and it now is done.
What was she ravished? Tell who did the deed.
Why hast thou slain thine only daughter thus?
Not I. 'Twas Chiron and Demetrius. They ravished her and cut away her tongue, and 'twas they that did her all this wrong.
Confess them to us hither presently.
Why, there they are! Both baked in that pie whereon their mother daintily hath fed, eating the flesh that she herself hath bred. 'Tis true! Witness my knife sharp bite!
Time hath, my lord, a wallet at his back, wherein he puts alms for oblivion, a great-sized monster of ingratitudes. Those scraps are good deeds past, which are devoured as soon as they are made, forgot as soon as done. Perseverance, dear my lord, keeps honor bright. To have done is to hang quite out of fashion like a rusty mail in monumental mockery. Take the instant way, for honor travels in a strait so narrow, where one but goes abreast. Keep then the path, for emulation hath 1,000 sons that one by one pursue. If you give way or hedge aside from the direct forthright, like to an enter tide they all rush by and leave you hindmost. Or like a gallant horse fallen in first rank, lie there for pavement to the abject rear, or run untrampled on. Then what they do in present, though less than yours in past, must o'ertop yours. For time is like a fashionable host that slightly shakes his parting guest by the hand, and with his arms outstretched as he would fly, grasps in the comer. The welcome ever smiles, and farewells goes out sighing. Oh, let not virtue seek remuneration for the thing it was. For beauty, wit, high birth, vigor of bone, desert in service, love, friendship, charity are subjects all to envious and calumniating time. One touch of nature makes the whole world kin, that all, with one consent, praise new-born gods, though they are made and molded of things past, and give to dust that is a little guilt, more laud than guilt, or dust it. The present eye praises the present object. Then marvel not, thou great and complete man, that all the Greeks begin to worship Ajax, since things in motion sooner catch the eye than what not stirs. The cry went once on thee, and still it might, and yet it may again, if thou wouldst not entomb thyself alive, and case thy reputation in a tent, whose glorious deeds but in these fields of late made emulous missions mongst the gods themselves, and brave great Mars to patch